I'd like to make this point. Usually when we have discussions like this, it usually starts with the idea there's a problem. People are not communicating. So I guess what and I really think that's true, that there is something sort of fundamentally wrong. In a sense, people don't believe, I guess nowadays, that they're able to engage in authentic communication. There's something wrong, they feel alienated, they feel removed. So I guess what I'm thinking about here is, how do we establish the conditions necessary for the idea of dignity to be introduced into the communication process? When this happens, usually the work of, say, Habermas or Appel is brought into the idea of establishing some type of communication competence, establishing conditions available for this type of authentic communication to happen. The problem is some Latin American writers, for example, such as Dussel, point out that these Europeans are operating in a vacuum. They don't understand the rest of the world. They don't have any idea. They're incredibly Eurocentric, and don't understand the conditions that most of the world lives in. And the conditions haven't been established for most of the world to even engage in this type of discussion. So I guess what I'm trying to get to here is we talk about poverty and we talk about power, and those of course are important, but there's also this need to sort of democratize culture. How do you do that? So that, for example, different knowledge bases will be, people can consult those things. The different people that have been excluded from these discussions will finally be seen as having some information to give. How do you democratize the situation? One example I have when I'm talking about this is trying to rethink the institution of communication is in Nicaragua. For example, while the Sandinista movement, revolution was going on, people felt that they had no way to communicate, that the communication system was dominated by elites and so forth, and they couldn't communicate. So they developed what they called communication from the trenches, from the trincheras. And so this was a whole new way of trying to think about how you become inclusive and bring people into the communication process. So I guess I would like to, as my part of my contribution today, I would like to try to rethink how would we rethink communication in the light of having dignity as an important factor there, including addressing issues of dignity that aren't always addressed when we begin to talk about the technology of communication and the other aspects of it, not simply the face-to-face type of things, but the institution of communication. How do we rethink that in such a way so that it's truly participatory and inclusive? That's what I would like to sort of address. Thank you.